Welcome to the Friends of FEADies podcast, brought to you by Feed Canada, our funding partner ISED, and founding partner, the Saskatchewan Food Centre. This show is all about celebrating the incredible journeys of female entrepreneurs in the agri-food and food manufacturing sector. We're here to dish out the secrets of success and serve up a side of inspiration along the way. We are the Feed program where dreams are made, businesses are born, and the agri-food world is your oyster. Let's dine together. Hello, and welcome to the Friends of FEADies podcast, the podcast where we share the stories behind Canada's food founders, the lessons they've learned, and the realities of building a business in the food industry. Today's episode is a little bit different. Instead of sitting down one-on-one with a founder, we're taking you to Startup Stories on Tap, a live panel discussion hosted by Feed during Saskatoon Startup Week. Building a business is rarely a straight line. Behind every product launch, growth milestone, and success story are countless challenges, pivots, difficult decisions, and moments of uncertainty that don't always make it to the highlight reel. That's exactly what this conversation is about. I had the pleasure of moderating the panel, and it features three incredible founders and ecosystem leaders, each bringing a unique perspective on entrepreneurship. Cassy Appelt is the director of LGCY Innovation Hub with a background in biotech, innovation, and venture capital. Barb Stefanyshyn-Côté is the co-founder and CEO of Fox Farm and Distillery and one of Saskatchewan's leading craft distilleries. And Natasha D'Cruze is co-founder and CEO of Seb's Soda Co., who's building a modern beverage brand while navigating the realities of startup life. Together we talked about risk, resilience, leadership, growth, decision-making, and lessons that only come with building a business yourself. You'll hear questions from the audience throughout the discussion, making this candid and more engaging conversation for entrepreneurship at every stage of their journey. Whether you're thinking about starting a business, growing an existing one, or simply curious about what entrepreneurship really looks like behind the scenes, I think you'll find plenty of insight in today's episode. Let's get into it. To get things started, can you just introduce yourself, your organization, and maybe tell us something that we might not know about it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Natasha D'Cruze. I'm with Seb's Soda Co., the co-founder. Nafisa did a great intro. We are very much in startup mode at Seb's Soda. So we just launched on May 2nd at the Regina Farmers Market. So it's been a really fun, interesting journey, and I'm excited to talk more about it and very honored to be here.
Yeah, thank you for that really great intro. I know what I sent Nafisa, and I know what came out of that block of text. So thank you so much for that really kind introduction. I'm Cassy. I'm here with 9 Mile Legacy Brewing, and on behalf of the LGCY Innovation Hub. I think maybe introducing LGCY is also kind of something that you might not know about 9 Mile Legacy Brewing. So 9 Mile's been around for 11 years now, but 2 years ago, in the process of scaling up, 9 Mile ended up with additional equipment and a curiosity for what we could do in fermentation with this extra equipment that was more community serving, and would allow us to diversify some of the work that we do here at the brewery. We are a traditional beverage company, brewery. We make a lot of beer. We've moved into some sodas recently. But through the innovation program, we've been doing some weird and wild things, kind of like brewing beer, but also beyond. Fermentation is a central process to all human industries, and so we've started using our equipment and our expertise to branch out what we're doing, working with some large international companies as partners, doing proof of concept work, but most interesting, I think, for today in the group of people here, collaborating within the ecosystem with great organizations like Sask Food Centre and Feed, to support startups as they scale up from something they're doing into their kitchen to something that's working at a commercial scale. We're able to help people take things from their kitchen through several different iterations up to a capacity where they're able to produce commercially. And this is Hendrik. He's 4 months old, and we'll see if he remains calm and collected for this. I didn't send his bio. He doesn't have much to his name yet.
He's working on it.
But a wonderful smile is what we have. Very good. My name is Barb, Black Fox Farm and Distillery. We make gin and whiskey legally. Excellent. Just so everyone knows. some of the things that may come out is that we actually are the farmers behind the distillery. I have a distillery, and we're the farmers behind the distillery. We grow 95% of the ingredients that go into our bottles. We do not say 100%. We do 100% on the whiskey, but for our gin, we use orange peel and lemon peel, and you can understand how much of that we can grow here in Saskatchewan. One of the other things is we are a tourist destination, so people are welcome to come out to the distillery anytime. We do tours, we do tastings, we do cocktails on the patio, we have cut flowers, we have acres of cut flowers, which the peonies are just come into bloom when they're open today, that you can come out and pick them. And mark July 29th on your calendar. That is our event with the Saskatoon Symphony. The symphony will come out and do a free concert. Last year, we had an event on the 30th of July. We had 1,000 people come out and sit on the hill. This year, we're gaming for 2,000, so I hope you're part of it.
Yeah, I was one of the 1,000 people that attended that event, and it was so well done and so beautiful listening to the music and stuff. So having it outside was such a unique experience, and yeah, it was so well done. So just wanted to mention that. So let's go to Natasha first. You're a first-time founder. Tell us a little bit about how that feels and kind of how you gained the confidence to move forward with this idea you had.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, being a first-time founder, it feels wonderful and daunting and, all the feelings, truly. I think getting the confidence to really lean into this, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just wasn't sure what that might be. And being in the corporate space for so long, I thought, it'll probably be a consultant. I'll just end up doing some sort of HR consulting or something like that. But just kind of found our way with Sub Soda out of an idea and a gap in the market where we couldn't find a low sugar, all natural alternative, and just decided to run headfirst into it.
Yeah.
And here we are now.
Yeah, I love that, and I love to hear it because we hear a lot about people having business ideas, but not that many people necessarily follow through with those ideas. So was there like a specific moment that you decided, okay, this is the thing, this is what's worth pursuing? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think so. My partner is my co-founder. So we like soda, we drink soda, but we just find it far too sweet. So we were always cutting it with soda water, but then we're diluting the flavor. So we thought, okay, let's see if there's a low sugar alternative, and couldn't find one. And so between kind of my business background, and then my partner is also a brewer at a brewery here in Saskatchewan. And so we kind of thought that between our two different experiences, that maybe it could contribute to something great, and we thought we'd be silly not to try. And I think that was kind of the catalyst for us.
Yeah, that's great. And both taking advantage of your areas of expertise to come together and work together. That's great. Okay, we're gonna head back over to Barb. So Black Fox is one of Saskatchewan's most recognized food and beverage brands. Looking back at some of the early decisions you made when you were starting out, how have those decisions kind of shaped what the business would eventually become? You're internationally recognized and selling all over the world. I assume people are aware of that, but just wanted to mention that.
So our story starts with my husband and I were grain farmers. And we came to a crossroads in our career. We're farming 5,000 acres, and we either needed to get larger or do something different. And we took a really hard look at what we were doing and where the industry was headed, and we didn't want to become the large grain farm. That was not what we saw for ourselves. And we really wanted to do something that was closer to the customer. And unfortunately, being closer to the customer well, unfortunately or fortunately, means you have to be close to customers. Where we were an hour north of here near Leask, Saskatchewan. There are 500 people in that town, and if you're going to do something that close to that customer base, we were related to most of them, so the family discounts would have killed you. So we did what is considered sacrilegious and moved our, we sold the family farm, bought 80 acres outside of Saskatoon, and decided that originally it was supposed to be vegetables and a winery. And anyone that knows Black Fox knows that it's neither of those. It's flowers and a distillery. Yeah. And so what are the early decisions? The decisions were to lean into our agricultural expertise. That was something that we could take with us no matter where we went. And we'd had the opportunity to do a lot of travel and see that agriculture didn't just mean large grain farms. And it meant something that we could create and add value to and bring a product to the market. And I think that was probably one of the best things that we did, because ag expertise is our skill and is our strength. And by building on that, we started with something we really knew and then got into all the stuff that we had no idea what to do.
Mm-hmm. But had the strong basis. Mm-hmm. So you kind of mentioned this a little bit, but if someone visited Black Fox 10 years ago and then visited today, I guess maybe what would surprise them about how things have evolved?
Our trees have grown, that's what, mainly. But no, I think a lot of it is the pivot, the realization that vegetables was not going to work for us. There was too much competition on the smallest scale, and we weren't large enough on the biggest scale. So we either needed to get a larger land base. Again, it really didn't draw on our expertise. We planted out, we knew we couldn't grow grapes to have a winery, but we thought it was going to be a fruit winery. And when we started that along that line, we planted out all these orchards, realized quite quickly we knew nothing about fruit. We didn't even like wine. So why in the Sam heavens would you set up a winery? But a distillery was based on grain, and we knew grain. We knew how to grow it and store it and harvest it. We just didn't know how to make alcohol out of it. But that was one less factor that we had to deal with.
Yeah, and it's so great to see too, just like, moving on into that next phase, because we have a lot of primary producers in Saskatchewan, but being the ones to take that on and creating that secondary product out of it, it's just opened up a whole new world for you, really. That's so great. And we're gonna move over to Cassy now here. And so your career spanned research, biotech, startups, and then now everything here with the Innovation Hub. Looking across all of those experiences, what do successful innovators tend to have in common?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, and why don't I just take a quick second to talk a little bit about my background. So I've been with 9 Mile Legacy in several different capacities since 2019, but my career really does span a lot of different industries. So I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Saskatchewan in a health science adjacent field. In a molecular biology application. I've worked in biotech now since about 2019, and I came back to 9 Mile full time when there was this interest in a fermentation project, and was really excited to dream about what LGCY could become alongside Sean Moen and Garrett Peterson, which are the co-owners and the co-founders of 9 Mile Legacy Brewing. I think the question of what do successful innovators have in common is a really interesting one. And I recall when we were starting the Innovation Hub program here in 2024, spending time reading and listening to people talk on the subject. And when I was thinking about this question, a couple of books came to mind that were kind of front of mind at the time and really validated how we were feeling about diversifying what we were doing and moving in to fill what we felt was a gap in the ecosystem for fermentation scale that wasn't quite available to new businesses, but were required in order for businesses to scale up and be productive at a commercial scale. One of them was Simon Sinek, and the other one was, is his name Matthew Johnson? I'll have to double check that, but they both have really great TED Talks where they talk really about this, being that innovators are not only people that spend time honing their ideas and collaborating with community to create the best version of that, but they also are people that are deeply driven by the concept of like why people should care about what they're doing. And so those two types of ideals have always been central to the way that 9 Mile does things. Our story starts on a farm, 100 years ago with the Moen and the Peterson farms, which were 9 miles apart. As you can imagine, that's where our name comes from. Working together and collaborating together and having this community between neighbors that has really been important through the test of time and now has moved into the business world here in Saskatoon. But also this concept of why being so driving, like why should people care about your product? Why should people care about what you're doing? Why are you doing it? And why does that resonate with people? Those tend to be based on other people as well as deeply held thoughts. Oh, that's a microphone. Yeah. That we had when we were interested in kind of doing something a bit adjacent to brewing. That passion and those abilities to take what was really resonating deep within, what was driving the innovation, what was building over time through collaboration and networking and talking to people about what the system needs or whether or not your idea has merit and feet, tend to be the things I think that innovators have in common. And I mean, when we're talking with people, even on this panel, Natasha saw a need and wanted to be able to provide something that she had been looking for. And Barb, you guys were looking for an innovative solution to needing to continue on with what you had been doing and wanting to continue, but in a way that collaborated further with community. So they're common sentiments, I think, especially here in Saskatchewan, where we're so close to the farm, we're so close to small community, and I think that we're particularly good here at collaborating with neighbors. But that is my very long way of saying, I think being passion-driven and also bringing to the forefront why you're doing what you're doing tend to be really like uniting across people in innovative space.
I really love that point at the end there too. Like, it's so true here. Like, I find it's very different than other startup spaces, other like tech spaces, things like that. It's very much a rising tide lifts all boats sort of environment in Saskatchewan. We're all kind of feel like underdogs in some ways, and so we're all rooting each other on. It's not you can't succeed because then I won't succeed. It's like we're all trying to help each other succeed. And I think that's like really, really special.
I think like my experience with biotech is that I've worked kind of across Canada and I've interacted internationally as well with clientele. And something that I really hold in high esteem here in Saskatchewan is exactly that. Everybody is incredibly collaborative. And I mean, there are exceptions, and I think that there are differences in industries to industries as well. But for the most part, what I love about being embedded in the business culture here is that people are really just rooting for other people to do really well. In the past, we're a brewery that are helping other beverage companies get started. We've worked a bit with Seb Soda right kind of at the beginning. And I think that as a beverage company, we can decide nobody else makes anything in a can, and we're the only ones who get to do that. Or we can be rooting for your success, and that means that we get to be part of those conversations moving forward, and we get to be around while you guys are doing really well, and we can celebrate that as community members and neighbors. I'm just curious, who here is a small business owner? Could I get some hands? Yeah, so like a lot of you, are you guys like working at the same time, or are you like all in on the business right now? Working? Yeah. And that's such a Saskatchewan story, it's like seeing the need, addressing the need, and then working really, really hard in order to see that succeed. So yeah, thanks for being here today, everybody.
Yeah, much appreciated. Everyone I know has so much on the go all the time. So taking the time to be here, yeah, we all really appreciate that. And then I have one more question for you, Cassy. Working with entrepreneurs at all these different stages of growth, is there something that you're seeing consistently with that founders underestimate when it comes to bringing a product or idea to market?
That is a great question. I think that I'm sure everybody here is just running through all of the things that they've had to deal with in the past in the journey of entrepreneurship. And I think we're probably all very similar in like agri-food and all the challenges that come with it. So I can really appreciate that. I think everybody here has firsthand experience. And I think this is a good opportunity to preface, I am not the founder of 9 Mile Legacy. I am not a business owner. I have been from ground zero with the Innovation Hub, and I think that I have an entrepreneurial spirit, but I haven't had to make the decision to go all in on something. And so that's something that I have a lot of respect for everybody here in the room. Working with innovators and small businesses and learning firsthand from Sean and Garrett, who have taken 9 Mile Legacy Brewing from something on 100 liters, and you can see parts of our original brew kit here, to the operation that you can kind of see behind me with the flags. And when we do our tour, I'll take you to go see the 2,000 liter mash tun and the 4,000 liter fermenters that we're now working with. That started on 100 liters, and they've scaled several times in the process of getting to where we are today. I think what we were really interested in doing with the Innovation Hub and our community connection and wanting to work with other beverage industries and working with innovators in agri-food is that a really big challenge in the process of starting an agri-food business and then succeeding in an agri-food business is scale. So we're really passionate about supporting people in their journeys here through different scale. Working in your kitchen is fundamentally different at working at 10,000 liters, which when you're talking about beverage or other fermented goods, 10,000 liters is kind of where commercial capacity starts. And so being able to work in really wonderful ecosystem partners like the food center, you get the opportunity to start on the bench and you can scale like up really, really high. But sometimes there are gaps depending on your industry to get you from 1 liter up to like 100 or 1,000 or 200 or 400 or 600 and whatever you need in order to have something prepared for investors or to take to the farmer's market or to put in your shop or to put in some other shops. And so we're really happy to be able to work with entrepreneurs here to do that. And I know in the past with 9 Mile's history and with our story in business, we'd kind of naturally followed that progression. From someone's garage, we move into 100 liters, and then from 100 liters, we scaled up to 600 liters, and now we've managed to scale up to 2,000. But there are challenges along the way with that, and there are things that need to change, and there's failures, and there's products that you have to dump down the drain, or things that spoil, or you've underestimated something, and you're sitting on extra product, and you need to find a cooler for it. So that challenge is one that I'm familiar with, not only at 9 Mile Legacy, but in working with entrepreneurs. And I'm sure that there are 30 dozen more that we could really talk about, but I think that is a big one.
So I'm going to open up a couple questions to all three of you. I'd love to hear from all three of you, but if the question doesn't apply, that's absolutely fair too. But I wanted to talk about sometimes you have to learn things the hard way. So either if you have a story or something specific that you maybe had to learn the hard way with business or the beverage business, we don't have to get super specific, but what did maybe no one warn you about that you had to learn the hard way and maybe we can learn from?
I can start. I would like to say that one of the things that took us a while to come around to is exactly who our target market is. You reach out to, when you first start up, you go and you do absolutely everything, and you do because all you want is somebody to open up their wallet and buy your product. So you do 10 different things, you do 20 different things, and then there comes a point where you've got to really establish who is your target market. And it's not necessarily that it's women or men between the ages of 20 and 30. It's more who understands your story and wants to buy into your culture and the why of what you do things. Because when we first started talking to people and saying that our target market was foodies, that's people that appreciate a crafted product, that really understand flavors and things like that. We had a lot of the investors in the banking industry going, well, that's not good enough. And you're going, yes, but I don't have to narrow it down to women that wear suits on Tuesdays and high heels or something like that. You have to realize that it's quite broad that way. But we also have leaned very high, or we've definitely into the ultra premium sector. That's the sector that we're targeting. And it's taken us a while to say, yes, my products have the quality, and I have that it's not just my mother saying I make really good whiskey. And so it's getting all of those pieces in place to be able to target the market that you're after.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with trying to get getting into that premium market.
And niche,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like the concept of aligning values.
Yes.
9 Mile has a number of really long-term collaborators. You know, when we first started brewing, I think one of the very first collaborative projects that we undertook was with Odd Couple. That is the restaurant downtown here. And we've continued to have a spectacular relationship with Andy and his wife, like, for example. But there are lots of people over time that we've maintained really close relationships with that are collaborative, that are reciprocal. And I think building on this values-driven, the reciprocal nature of opportunities becomes really important. You know, everybody loves beer. I love beer. Everybody wants their own beer, but not everybody has the equipment that costs, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars and people to pay in order to make the beer. And so finding ways to work with people that are sometimes out of the box becomes really important, because we can't just make beer for everybody who has grain or a good idea or an interesting ingredient, but we can find ways to collaborate and have aligned stories and values and to tell a story. I think a really exciting example of, you know, telling stories together that I can kind of tip my hat to today. One of the beverages in our cooler is a brand new product that we're actually just talking about this week that we've done collaboratively with Saskatun. And so I don't want to tell their story because it's their story to tell, but through our Innovation Hub program, we now have something in a can with a label that uses wild and foraged Saskatchewan ingredients in a really spectacular soda. So the diversification of what we've been able to do with our Innovation Hub, and then bringing people on who have that like similarity in values and interested in reciprocal relationships and telling stories together now has resulted in something that I think has a really powerful story and now serves Saskatun in a way that they're able to bring a product to market in their storefronts. So really excited for you guys to try that today, and always really happy to talk about that alignment of values and finding collaborators that are willing to give and understand what they're asking for when they ask to take is really important.
Okay, I think for me, one thing that had to learn the hard way was, I think, overestimating what we could achieve within a year. That was probably the biggest one. So we came up with this idea in January of last year, and you know, I was so gung-ho and super passionate and very excited, and then applied to be a vendor at the farmers market in March, 2 months later, with the goal that we'd be able to launch that summer, around June or July. And there was just so many learnings and so many bumps along the road. And, you know, we just launched like 6 weeks ago because of how long it actually took to get here and to get things right and to get the quality that we wanted and the brand and our story and all of that. So I would say that is definitely something learned hard.
Yeah, time definitely is the. What do you underestimate? Time.
Yeah. Very good point. And just anyone who's not already aware, we do have some sodas and things over here. So there is Seb sodas as well. There's the Saskatun collaboration, and there's a few other things over here for people to be able to try. So if you're curious and you haven't tried one yet, hopefully there's some left in there. So the opportunity to try is there. And then another one that I have for everyone as well, I just wanted to talk this is in the same vein of what we're already talking about, but is there a decision that felt risky at the time but ended up being the right move for your business, your organization? You know, where have you been rewarded for taking that risk that you didn't know if you should take it or not?
I can start on that one.
Great.
So again, with the journey of trying to figure this all out, like Cassy had mentioned, we worked with the Innovation Hub because we could not figure out our carbonation. So we worked with the Food Center, we worked with 9 Mile, because that was one thing that I was very committed to with the product. Like, we had our flavors, but I wanted it to be as fizzy as a regular soda. And we were trying to do it on a small scale and just couldn't figure it out. Worked with 9 Mile. They were so generous with their time and their knowledge. And Cassy was doing a bunch of research and Garrett was doing research. And we were just not able to, at the size we were trying to do, get it to the carbonation that we needed. And where we currently produce now is at Rebellion Brewing in Regina. And the smallest batch we could do there was 550 liters or like 1,500 cans. So we were really hesitant to go that big and not know if it was going to work. But truly, we had like exhausted all avenues at that point. We do bootstrap this, so also within our financial means. And so eventually we just thought, okay, let's just bite the bullet and do the minimum batch size, because if that doesn't work, then we're done. We've hit the absolute peak of our knowledge and our ability with our first time in this space. And so we took the leap and we did the minimum volume, and it worked. And then we couldn't just say, okay, it worked for that one flavor, so it'll work for all 3. So we had to do that test with all 3 of our flavors. And thankfully it worked for all, but it was very sad having to waste that much product just for an experiment. But at the end of the day, that was the risk we had to take to now get to where we are today.
For us, I would say the decision that started pivoting for us was there were 2. Right at the beginning, when we decided vegetables in a winery, we planted out corn. The corn got hit by a pest that we weren't prepared for. So we composted 5 acres of corn one year and decided that vegetables sucked. And so that was the pivot there. The second one I would say is that when we decided to really lean into the export market, because we realized that the market that we had access to here was just too small for our product. And in the alcohol business, which the breweries are very aware of, selling into individual provinces or different provinces or territories, it's like selling into 13 different countries. And the regulations and the rules are so restrictive that it is so much better it's easier for us to sell out of the country than it is to sell within the country. It's a shame, but that's the way it is. So that was a big decision for us and turned out to be the right one for us.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing from both of you, and I think resonates with 9 Mile's story as well, as the need to be nimble and pivot. Yeah, and I think something in our story, maybe I'll speak to quickly before focusing a bit on the Innovation Hub, is the COVID-19 pandemic for our brewery was a moment where we had to be nimble and pivot really quickly. We had a tap room on 20th Street with our smaller equipment that now has become, my goodness, he has a lot to say on the matter. I'll translate. The smaller equipment in our microbrewery at the time has now become what our Innovation Hub is. And we were in the process of planning to scale up into this facility when the world shut down. Do you want to go see Barb? Yes. You can. Come see. It's like, maybe I love this. And so our business went from 80% on-site consumption, people coming into our tap room to sit and drink, to like 80% of our revenue was gone. And so we really had to pivot very quickly, and there was a lot of kind of experimentation at that time. But ultimately, we were able to start building distribution networks. And to this day, 9 Mile, by and large, distributes our own beer throughout Saskatchewan, from, as far up north as we're available, right down into the south there. And absolutely correctly, it's very difficult to move into different provinces. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to move laterally, but for right now, we have really strong presence in Saskatchewan. And we do that with the help of a couple of really great guys who drive trucks kind of all over in order to affect that. So the innovation to take a challenge head on and the ability to be nimble and pivot has been important in the past before. And I think further to that, the Innovation Hub kind of came at a time where the question was, how do we do something different? How do we diversify? How can we use this equipment in a way that we're hearing in the environment people are saying we need? People are getting excited at the concept of using fermenters to do additional work. People are excited at the concept of it being available to scale up things through the food center. People are excited at the university at the idea of having a partner with fermentation scale that can support research and academia. So that concept and that what we perceive to be a need in the environment and the ecosystem was also a moment where we had to decide to kind of take a risk. And we stuck our necks out right away and said, look, we've got these resources available. We want to do something important with them. We can take students, we can collaborate academically, we can scale up product, we can diversify what we're doing. We've built it, please come. And it's been an interesting journey in those 2 years, trying to see where it makes sense to be collaborating, where it's lucrative and we can generate revenue to support the program, where we can't and where we've had to rethink things in the moment in order to make sure that we are useful to the community, but we're also able to do meaningful work and pay our staff. So it's been, I was passing them around, so you can go for it. It's just been another example of seeing challenges maybe on the horizon this time and wanting to find a way to be innovative and pivot now. And it's been really wonderful in ways that I don't think that I could have imagined. So getting to sit here today with these great panelists, with a great relationship with the Food Center and with Feed. We also have pen to paper partnerships with the University of Saskatchewan, and we're collaborating with university researchers next year to do some foundational work with fermenting pulse starches. We have some in-house funding from Sask Pulse growers to experiment with raw chickpea from the field. We've had the chance to work with international companies. For example, Novanesis, which is a biological supply company, product company that's actually out of Denmark and has really strong presence in Canada and in the States. We've worked with them a number of times now. It's really opened doors in ways that I didn't think that offering fermentation capacity to work with innovators would. So there's sometimes a lot of risk, there's a lot of reward, and I think sometimes we don't trust our intuition, but intuition is more of a hunch that's grown over time as opposed to a single moment where you think you might have a good idea, and it's often worth trusting.
That's great. So I am going to open it up to questions for everyone. I do want to give everyone a little bit of a chance to think. I don't want to put you on the spot just yet. So we're going to do one more question with everyone, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. So think about it. If you've got anything for anyone specifically or all three, we'd love to hear it. And this is not advice that you just get every day, or this is a very unique opportunity. So I suggest that you take advantage of it if there's something that's in the back of your mind. So we'll do one more from me, and then we'll kind of go to the room and see who's got questions. But I was just curious about the Saskatoon or Saskatchewan, we can kind of talk more Saskatchewan advantage. And is there an advantage being here that founders get that maybe doesn't get talked about enough?
I'm rearing for this question. So I've worked in biotech elsewhere, and other provinces have other benefits. They have different funding structures. They have certain types of industry that are booming and busting, and it's some areas are there's a lot of sharks in the water, others are similarly collaborative. And the thing that really makes me excited about Saskatchewan, and I think that we often underestimate ourselves across the board in Saskatchewan. People from Saskatchewan are always well, over here, and well, a province over, and well, they said this over here, and we're so quick to undersell ourselves, but we produce the food. We have the expertise to work with it, and we're often looking to somewhere else to do something innovative with those, agri-food projects. We are the best people to be innovating in the agri-food sector, and I believe that so incredibly passionately. The people that are removed through urban centers or through, not access to the land in order to do the farming or any number of things, we have the space, we have the people, we have the products. And I think that we don't often see ourselves as leaders and innovators, and we absolutely are. I don't know a single person here in Saskatchewan who doesn't have a thought about something or just an intense expertise in a certain product, in a certain ingredient, in a certain industry. And I think that we're often to undersell ourselves, but we're like the right people to be innovating and leading some of those like food manufacturing and sustainability concepts. And it's just been a delight working in this industry and getting to work with people every day who are innovating. So I've said my piece.
Very well said. Very well said.
Good. I would like to add to that Saskatchewan, not only, as you so rightly said, is we're the right people. We have this can-do attitude. You run into people. The first place that I was down in the U.S. at an alcohol seminar, and I was talking about making whiskey, and they said, "Oh, well, who's your co-packer?" And I said, "I don't even know what that means." And they said, "Well, who makes your whiskey?" And I went, John makes my whiskey. And they said, and where do you get the ingredients? And I said, "Well, we grow them." And they went, "You grow your own ingredients?" And I went, "Yeah." And you make your own? Well, yeah, like why wouldn't I? Yes. That's that can-do attitude that we've got here, is we can do it. And on top of all that, we've also got the terroir. Terroir are all those factors that come together and influence how an ingredient tastes. And you hear a lot about it in wine. You don't hear about it in anything else, but we do. We're known around the world to grow some of the best grains for bread, for pasta, for cookies. Why can't we make the best beer and the best whiskey and the best sodas out of it? We can, just nobody knows about us yet. That is the biggest problem I think that we have, is that no one knows about us yet because we're small and we're very humble. And those aren't bad things, but they just don't get you known on the world stage as fast as you would like us to.
As a woman in science and STEM, and working for about a decade now with innovators in biotech, I've come to really hold very dearly this concept that being humble is for like saying sorry. You should never be humble about your achievements or what you're good at. And I think the people in Saskatchewan are a really prime example of that. We're quiet, we're humble, we know what we've got, we don't feel the need to shout it. But when you don't take the time to own those achievements and own that expertise and own that innovative entrepreneurship, people will just take it from you, or they won't see it. And so people don't know about us, but I think that we've got enough here that we can make a lot of noise about it.
And we should.
And we really should, yeah. And we are.
Yes, we're starting. We're getting there.
Yeah.
So I'll say for me, as a first-time founder, I've only lived in Saskatchewan for 6 years. So I'm fairly new. I'm originally from Calgary. And I would say exactly like what Cassy and Barb have both said, just about community. It's been incredible, the amount of support, the amount of advocacy, the amount of connections that people have just been so gracious across the board, from Regina to Saskatoon to wherever in Saskatchewan, to help us to be able to get this product off the ground, because we didn't know anything about making soda. We just saw a gap and felt that there was a need and something that we wanted. And Seb is our dog, so we love him, and we wanted him as the brand too. And just having the support and community in Saskatchewan, I don't know if I would have found that in Calgary. Not to crap on Calgary, I love Calgary, but even my friends who are entrepreneurs there or know other small businesses, like everyone's kind of trying to hold on to their piece or fight for their piece in a very large market. Whereas here it truly is everyone trying to uplift and support, which has been incredible.
Yeah, all very well said. I very appreciate that. So yeah, I did feel like there was some people that were excited and ready to ask some questions. So let's go into that. And just if it's for one specific person, can you just repeat the question before you answer it? Or if it's for everyone, just the first person can just do that, and we're good. Just for our audio.
And before you ask the question, can you tell us your name and what you're who you're here representing? If you've got your own company, I'd love to know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
My name is Anna. I started a business in interactive innovation events, and I have a follow-up question to Barb. When you talked about finding the customer and then narrowing it from the foodies to the
So ultra premium products, yes.
Premium product. That obviously narrows your clientele, potential clientele, and then you have to reach out to and start export. So my question is about how to find the balance about your audience and not to go too broad, not to go too narrow, because Saskatchewan population is low, and that presents challenges in many ways.
Yeah. The question was, how do you choose your target market and not go too wide and not go too narrow? There's pros and cons to both. If you start really, really narrow, then you realize on the edges you can start expanding and moving out and reaching others. And I was going to say, and if you start too wide, then you narrow it down. But I think starting narrow is better. And I'll say why is I think starting narrow is then you know these guys for sure. These guys are maybes. And if you find success with these guys, then you can start branching out and going that way. If you start off too wide, you really spread yourself too thin right off the beginning, and you don't have the capacity to deal properly. And I think one of the biggest things about running my own business is you walk the talk, you do what you say you're going to do, and you show up every time. That's what's most important. You know, you can promise people the moon, but if you don't deliver that moon, you're never going to get their repeat business. And so to me, that is what is so critical, is that when you're expanding to new customers, is that you deliver every time what you say you're going to deliver. Under deliver, you know, under promise and over deliver. Yes, don't do it the other way around.
All right, anyone else have any questions that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
For Natasha, are you working on any new exciting flavors?
Oh, great question. So yeah, Justin asked if I'm working on any new exciting flavors. We are. We're always trying to formulate and try new things. So yeah, we're trying to do some, I don't know if I'll be there in time, but some summer flavors and try stuff that's a little more herbaceous perhaps. So experimenting with things like basil and like rosemary and so yeah, experimenting with, you know, trying to marry some, we've got our core three, sort of our take on traditional flavors. And so the vision was to always branch out and have something fun and unique that you might not see in the market. So yeah, we've got some stuff cooking. Yeah.
It's a good example of starting narrow. You're like,
Yeah.
these are the traditional flavors. Come here, try our soda, and then I'm gonna innovate.
Yeah, because I feel like that trust is really important in a very saturated market. You know, the beverage space, there's a lot of players. And so the goal was like, if we can do the classics really well, then people will be more open to then trying when we do something a little more off the wall, hopefully. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Kombucha. Barb, I want to follow up with that same question of niche and premium. Like part of our branding is premium product, and I'm wondering if that was a process for you. Like, how was that for you to be
become
that category? Yeah. What was the journey like for you? Because maybe you grow your stuff and
Right.
you know, but to embrace that, how was that to get to that place for you?
It took a while because we were in the process of producing, and you never know if your product's quality enough to go into that target market. And it was, I would say, the validation came when we started winning some pretty major awards, that it proved that, as I said, not just my mother thinks that we make good product. So that was the step forward that said, look, we are doing something that's over and above what everyone else is doing. And if we're doing that, we should command the marketplace for that. And then you take that stand and you live that stand is what you do. You know, like that's someone, I was at a conference one time and some of the best advice I heard is that you will not always make the best decisions. You make the best decision at the time of based on what you know and everything else, but you live like that was the best decision you could have ever made. You know, like that's what you do. And so that's been kind of a driving factor. It's like, we chose this decision, we're going to make it happen.
You can bring me the crying baby. He'll probably calm down. Bring him on over. Hey, buddy. I know you have questions, but nobody can understand you. Hello.
All right, we're close to wrapping up anyway, so it's good timing. But does anyone else have any other questions before we wrap up? Yeah. Okay, we've got another from Jordan.
And it's for Barb as well. It's on the same topic of ultra premium. So when you made that decision, did you have to? I'm assuming your product was already in that vein, and you just had to like change your branding. And did you have to do any of that in the process of kind of matching those, like the product itself, but then also the packaging?
So good question was, did we make changes when we chose the ultra premium direction? Did we have to change the product? Did we have to change the packaging? Did we have to change our approach? And yes to all three. Not so much the product. The product was already there, but we realized that our packaging was not up to snuff. And so that was a huge expense for us to go and get custom-made packaging that really spoke to our brand. But it's been a huge difference. It's been a really huge advantage to us. We are now considering further packaging, and the ultra premium market is a huge gifting market. And gifts, people that want to give a gift, they want a box. They want that extra box that goes on top of your thing. That extra box is a lot of unsustainable packaging that really goes against our values. So how are we justifying this? Do we spend the extra money on the packaging? Do we take that route that's just going to end up in the landfill somewhere? How do we make that happen so that we can target the market that we're after, that will buy our product? And we're getting to the point of saying that we will probably do an extra package for the gifting market. We will not do it, carte blanche. We will just do it for that specific market. Again, now, because you're not doing a large quantity, the prices are higher. There's so many decisions that you have to make when you're along that line. And then, yes, on our messaging, we started targeting the ultra premium marketplace. This is what they listen to. This is what the words that resonate with them. This is what they do. Are we 100% successful? Not yet, but we're getting there. So it's a process. That's the other thing. It's a huge journey, and it doesn't end.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anyone else? This is our last call. If there's any other questions. Yeah.
If anyone.
You were the fastest to put your hand up.
Yes.
Natasha, are you guys in more than one farmers market? And if you're in one, are you thinking of trying others? I don't know how it is in Regina. Do they have like more than one farmers market?
Yeah, so right now we're in the Regina Farmers Market, and I feel like makers markets are popping up all over the place right now. They're kind of trendy right now, but so right now we are just at the Regina Farmers Market, and we're in a couple of retail stores, like smaller boutique stores in Regina, and a couple of restaurants, and we've been approached for a couple of different things. But we're also, actually, I love the questions about the customer and positioning, because we also position our soda as a premium product. It is handcrafted, and so we position it as such. And so just trying to find the right spaces to get that exposure, but then find the right audience is kind of where we're at right now. And then, of course, the goal is to be like a national or an international product someday. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Last call. Yeah.
This is the question to everybody. So I'm now over 1 year in business. how do I start thinking about scaling? How do I start thinking about feeding myself? Where to start? It seems so complex.
That's a great question.
I mean, I have a question for you. Right now, what's your business, if you don't mind me asking?
Engaging interactive events, and that's maybe I'm going too wide. Maybe I'm stretching too thin. I'm doing community, private, corporate, and hosted when you buy a ticket.
So that comes back to you're going to do anything to get the consumer dollar to come in and help you go. So that's where starting to focus is probably, people tell us focus, 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 focus. And if you start this way and then start going out that way, I think that's probably an easier way. And it'll also hone your abilities to, can I deliver this? Can I deliver this well? And I'm going to say, pick the one market that you like the best. Like, there's no sense going after the corporate market if you can't stand working with them. You know, like that's just no
I'm
way.
not working with them, but it takes so long to get the client to get the payment after you've done the work.
Yeah.
It takes forever.
Yep. And there's things that go, but when does it start turning around and it starts paying for you? I'm not sure. That's it's a long process. It's always a long process. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is.
I think something that I've observed with 9 Mile and has become really like a central part of their hiring practices. Not that part of scaling is immediately hiring, but I think it's a lesson that is pervasive and can be applied to kind of any business decision you need to make, is making sure to work with good people. So like when you have a need, just finding a way to fill it isn't always the best strategy to support you in your business journey. So I know when it comes to our hiring practices, it's really like we look for an alignment of person with team. And the same can be said for the people that we collaborate with. It's often in like finding people who meet us where we're at and are interested in collaborative and reciprocal collaboration. Collaborative collaboration, but I've got this baby hanging off of me, so you know. But it's really just being selective about the people that you're working with. And so if you're working broad right now and you're looking at where you need to narrow, I think that might be something that you can consider. But I know that it's been important in our journey, is like really making sure to show up for people who collaborate in good faith, and it's adding to your team or associating yourself with people that are, you know, carry some of the same values forward that you do and can complement your strengths, as opposed to trying to find the solution that feels like it'll like quickly solve things for you. I know we were hiring for people to work in our warehouse, and in theory you get a lot of resumes, but when you really sit down and think about, well, is this person going to work well in the framework that we've laid out with our team and the culture that we're trying to build and maintain, the pool becomes a lot smaller. And we put a call out for hiring, I think twice back to back, because we just didn't really find someone that was going to make sense on our team. And then we've been really lucky to add to our team a number of positions with people just like that are really, really good in the warehouse here. So we're really thankful for the staff we do have. But sometimes it takes just finding the right fit. So if I may add that. What do you think?
And I think to tag on to that, so of course, yeah, we're still very new. We are also very much in startup scale mode, having just launched, and it's been a very successful launch, and we're very grateful, but it's keeping us very busy. And so both myself and my partner also work full-time jobs right now outside of Subsoda. Mm-hmm. So trying to balance our energy is really crucial. And just for us, we did start narrow. So just kind of like you asked, starting in the one market and then branching out as we're getting offers, but making sure there's values alignment there, making sure it's also something that gets us excited, you know, like partners that we can truly be ourselves around. Like all of that is so important, and something that we always want to have as our North Star as we continue to scale. Just like making sure that we have that values alignment with any of the partners who we do work with our product, and the spaces in which we have our product as well. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, for listening.
Thank you to our listeners for indulging your entrepreneurial appetite with this episode of Friends of FEADies, brought to you by Feed Canada, our funding partner ISET, and founding partner, the Saskatchewan Food Centre. If anything we have discussed today has ignited an entrepreneurial fire within you, but you're not quite sure how to get started, or you're craving mentorship and coaching to help grow your business, please reach out to us at feed.ca. That's FEAD.ca. Connect with us on social media. We're sprinkled all over the digital landscape, and our team is ready to provide the mentorship and coaching you need to flourish. At Feed, we're here to empower women in the agri-food industry, so don't hesitate to reach out to us to join our vibrant community of foodpreneurs. Until next time, bake those dreams into reality, stay hungry for success, and continue to nourish your entrepreneurial spirit with Feed. Bon appetit.